This is Brian, ScreenFiles.com in review. And what I'm looking at today is 2022's Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, directed by J.D. Feigelson. And this movie is the sequel to Dark Knight of the Scarecrow, which came out in 1991 and was directed by Frank D. Falletta. And to tell a story, and the story was co-written by J.D. Feigelson. So he has a connection to this project that goes to its genesis. And if you weren't aware, the original movie, or I should say telemovie, revolves around a mentally handicapped person played by Larry Drake. And he is loved by the children, but some of the adults, one of them is played by Charles Durning, who plays benignly evil really, really well. He never comes off as overly angry or driven. And it tends to be hatred just for hatred's sake. He plays that type of character exquisitely. In any case, when one of the children is killed in an accident, I don't recall the particular details of the accident, but Charles Durning and a bunch of other people blame Larry Drake's character for the accident and hunt him down. He hides in a scarecrow in a field, and they, realizing he's there at some point, kill him. He avenges himself upon all the so-called vigilantes who killed him in the first place. It's a relatively simple vengeance story. It works really well, and it's an oddly effective movie. I really enjoy Dark Knight of the Scarecrow. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies, but it's reliable, it's interesting, it's well done, and it works. Though, Dark Knight of the Scarecrow 2 takes everything from the original movie and somehow manages to mess it up, which is really surprising because, once again, J.D. Feigelson, who directs this time around, almost 2 decades later, co-wrote the story for the original movie. So if anyone would have a grasp of how to make this work, I think it would be him. And I'm kind of wrong, because this movie, there's just too much going on. And none of it is really very convincingly told. And that's a pity, and a definite departure from the original movie, which I thought was very convincingly done. The sequel revolves around a mother and her son who have moved to this new town. And the son doesn't want to be there. Keep in mind, this kid is probably, I want to say, 10 or 11, which is to say, I find the idea that he has such hard and fast ideas already as a bit odd. I mean, it's certainly not impossible, but it strikes me as a behavior more in line with a significantly older person, let's say a 15 or 16-year-old. So he doesn't want to be there, though they're moved in with his aunt, I believe. And he really likes her, and he doesn't like his mother. Because movie. It never quite explains why he doesn't like being around his mother. As depicted, his mother is a really good person and works hard to support them both. So, his animus towards her is never really clear, and it does the story a disservice. It almost feels as if this thing were edited to death. I don't think it was. Not at all. But it feels like it, as if there are whole chunks of story that were somehow thrown to the wayside, and it suffers for this. We come to learn that the aunt, who was present at the time that, I believe his name was Bubba, the character played by Larry Drake, was present in the town at the time that Bubba was killed. Now, what would have been really smart was to have a character who actually played in the original Dark Knight of the Scarecrow as the aunt. That way you have a continuity. Though that's not the case. For some reason, I don't know why. Maybe all those actors are dead? It's possible. Maybe J.D. Feigelson didn't look? It's possible. Maybe he didn't care to look? I don't know. The aunt appears to be using Bubba to do her bidding. If someone crosses the aunt in any particular way, Bubba kills them as the Scarecrow. How is this happening? The movie does not explain this at all. And as I said earlier, this character, the aunt, was not present in the original movie, though she claims to have been around at the time that Bubba was accused of killing these people. But the point being, there is no continuity, and the movie does not explain why things happen, which makes it really frustrating. And as the story progresses, we come to learn that the little boy, for reasons, wants to stay with the aunt. And what she wants to do is to have him stay, not necessarily because she loves him, but because he'll be a playmate for Bubba. As I mentioned earlier, Bubba had a connection to children, and he generally enjoyed them. Though Bubba in the original movie, while being mentally challenged, was also a very moral person. He wasn't essentially a killer for hire. And once again, the story gives you no reason why he would be doing what he's doing to protect the aunt. For instance, there's a scene in the movie where, I want to say someone in real estate or a bank is attempting to buy her house. Or she owes no, I think it's more to the point that she owes a payment. What does she do? Dispatches Bubba to kill him. Why is this happening? It doesn't make any sense based upon the characters J.D. Feigelson actually helped create. Why would he do this? He seems to be protecting the aunt. Why is he protecting the aunt? There is no connection, as far as I can see, between the two characters. And if there is, the story does not tell you. Maybe she's related to him. It's possible, though we don't know that, and I'm assuming it, because it would at least start to make sense. The original movie is a relatively simple thing. This movie, as I mentioned earlier, is way more complex than it needs to be. There's a relationship between her daughter and her daughter's son. There's a relationship between the mother and her son. There is a subplot with the daughter being in witness protection. And the person who is after her has been working to hunt her down, which is vaguely the plot of Sinister 2, by the way, a much better movie. Why is all this happening? This type of complexity can be tackled in two ways, by my reckoning. The first way is just to have someone who could better tell the story and make it seem of a whole. J.D. Feigelson is not that person. So that being the case, simplify the story. Have only one essential plot, which could be the mother goes on a run with her son and someone is after her. And then you put Bubba into the story somehow. Or you have the aunt who is using Bubba as a weapon. Explain how that works. Because as I said, it makes no sense. Though once you explain how it works, have that be the plot. Then her daughter comes to visit with her son, and she tries to get her grandson to stay with Bubba. That's it. This movie is cluttered with plot that doesn't need to be there. Or, as I said, the story needs to be better told. Dark Knight of the Scarecrow 2 is disappointing, even if you haven't seen the original movie. I suggest you do check it out. It's pretty good. Now what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow. Peace.